You may have seen me in some other places, but this is a quick kind of addendum to my blog for FiberTrek. I figured that, like most video or knitting podcasts I watch, that seeing the yarn in action and seeing the projects would be far more interesting than me ranting on about those things. So I'm sure there'll be a component of reflection with this blog about some ideas I've been inspired by and farms and yarns and those types of things. But I figured I would do a quick, I say quick, but of course that's relative. I need to shift my seat, sorry. Um, Video cast and talk a little bit about what I've been working on as far as the fiber component, but also what Tyler and I are plotting and planning for the future if you have had a chance to look at some of our past productions. So like most, I know I keep looking over here because that's where all my projects are. So like most video casts, I'll start with on and off the needles. I will have upcoming, which is just some plans I have and patterns. I will do acquisitions, which is always my most favorite part of most video podcasts that I watch, so I can learn more about what's out there. I have a quick book review, and I say review very lightly. I picked this book up, and I've been following this particular person for a little while, and so I'm just going to offer that out there to you as a resource and a possibility. And then I'm going to do FiberTrek updates for those of you that are interested in wondering a little bit more about what we have planned. So with no further ado, let's do on and off the needles. If you follow me on Instagram or if you have followed the blog at all for FiberTrek, you'll know that I've been working on Such a Winter's Day by Heidi Kiermaier. Here it is. And can you see that gorgeous striping, which is totally not meant to happen? Like, but I think it's an aesthetic that I'm gonna let go. This yarn is from Log Cabin and Lamb, which is a small farm in Winterport, Maine, and it is Romney and it is the natural gray and natural color. So I just knit it up, and there's just a variant, and I guess the fleeces that were blended at the mill. So that is what happened. It's not finished. Everything, of course, you can see. I need to do the cowl neck. So really gorgeous pattern. I like to call this my expedition sweater because I have a feeling that this will be canoeing and heading out on some backcountry skis and hopefully traveling the world with me. It's rugged. It's not. I think there's a lot of verbiage that's used in the fiber world to describe fiber that isn't always necessarily fair. So I don't really like to use words like soft. I picked this up from Deb Robeson on her hand spinning with rare breeds. I don't even like to use the word coarse because I think that automatically implies some sort of classification of fibers of one being better than the other. And I think they all come to the table with qualities to be enjoyed. So this is definitely, I would consider a hardy, crunchy, stable yarn. I think it's going to be wear well. It's next to the skin for me. And I can wear Icelandic next to the skin and be perfectly warm and go about my day. Not to say I don't notice that it's there, but it doesn't bother me. And I have a real admiration for this type of garment. I can wear this next to my skin. Romney is just lustrous and silky, and I'm not sure that the camera is going to pick it up, but you can see some of that luster coming through. Hello. Anyway, I've really been enjoying this yarn and so happy to get it out of my stash. It's been in my stash for a while, waiting for the perfect sweater, and I think I found it. It's probably more of an Aran weight than a worsted weight. This sweater was originally designed for a variety of yarns, one of which was Shelter by Brooklyn Tweed, which is a woolen spun yarn out of Targhee and Columbia, more of a short stapled crimpy fiber. But I think it's working fine in this. I knit it a little bit larger. You can kind of see that looks massive. In case, it did end up and having to go over multiple layers, vests and things. So anyway, I'm happy with it. I'm in love with it. And my husband even tried it on, even with the waist shaping. He was like, I love this sweater. Like, I know you look good in it. There's not much he doesn't look good in. I also cast on Marin, I'm not sure what the syllabic accent is on. I'm doing this out of Woolen Rabbit's Emma, which is a Polworth silk. I believe Polworth is in the merino family, often described with soft and smushy. And I'm enjoying this this pattern immensely. And you can see that's not the color really at all. It's more green. But there's a whole garter stitch kind of fabric, and then there's this ribbing and some traveling ribbing cables. I had a little bit of a yarn chicken moment with this, and I had to post on the Woolen Rabbit page in need of some extra yarn. And I found a lovely gal from Bellevue, Washington, who's sending me her leftovers from a project so that I can finish this one. And I am in turn sending her a skein of Woolen Rabbit Sports, I think it's called Sporty, and it's a superwash, and that is going off to her. I'm not a big fan of superwash, and that's just a personal, if you've watched other video casts or read some of my blogging, that's just a personal, what the word is. It's just the reason I knit is to work with wool, and the less processed sometimes the better for me. So I kind of draw the line at superwash. I have knit with superwash for some socks and for my nephew, but typically don't acquire that. So that is Marin. Brenda Dane was back on one of my favorite audio podcasts. This all started for me was through Cast On with Brenda Dane, and she pronounced it Marin. So that's where I heard that. I'm also working on a stocking pattern, and I've been seeing other podcasters doing this, so I thought I'd give it a shot. I keep everything on my tablet or my iPad. And my brother and his wife asked me to knit a stocking for my nephew, and I acquiesced. I'm not a big stocking knitter, so the little bean better like it, although he's only not even 6 months, so here we are. Where are you? Here it is. So this pattern is it's a series of patterns. There's 3 kind of choices you can make. We're going to see how this rolls. I made some amendments based on a yarn I wanted to work on, and it's called A New Family Portrait, and it is original designs by Doreen Delaney Giordano, and I know there's the glare. Anyway, you get the picture. I'm doing the one in the center with the blues. And I have this really gorgeous French set of windows that look out onto the pond right there, which is the glare. So, and here it is. And this is in Shepherd's Stonehenge fiber mill, and this is their Shepherd DK. I think that called for fingering. It called for fingering, and really interesting. She says you can get onto 16-inch needles by the time you have all your stitches cast on, but I'm on 16-inch needles, and I'm having trouble even doing when I'm moving it around. So I'm like, and I've gone up a needle size, and I've gone up two up on the yarn. So I'm like, anyway, we'll see how it comes out. I may need to order more yarn. No, I keep making that face because I don't know. This project isn't like speaking to me in 100 passionate 1,000 ways like some others, but I will get through it. I'm working with gorgeous wool. It's merino based wool. And I love the colors, and it'll be fine. That's kind of the mantra of, I'm not really sure how to respond or reflect about this project because So it'll just be fine. Like I don't have to rip it off. So that's on and off the needles. I do try to be pretty monogamous when I'm working on something, as I'm both a product and a process knitter. And so I pick patterns in a rather fickle way. Sometimes I'm all about the yarn that I want to use. Sometimes I'm about the product that I want, and sometimes I'm all about the pattern. So the sweater was definitely about both the pattern and the yarn. I'm really psyched to kind of bring those two together. And the Marin was definitely about the product. So that's on and off. And up and coming. So one thing that I love about some of the podcasts I listen to, one of which is the Yarniacs, is they do In the Queue. And I believe that, or stock, what are you stocking? And I listen to Just One More Row, and they always talk about new in the queue, I believe. So I like to learn about what other people are kind of thinking about. And I'm going to try this again. Some of my acquisitions have to do with what we're doing, what I'm planning. So one of them is the Mikado cowl. And I'll link to that in the show notes. And I'm trying to make this big so you can't actually. It's by Stitch Nerd Designs, which I believe is Susan Ashcroft. I'm not sure. So the best I can do for you on the Mikado cowl is, you can see all my beautiful windows. This is not going to work as I had hoped. It's right there. It's kind of a textury, large, bulky cowl. I don't know if I have a better picture. There's some really gorgeous pictures on Ravelry. It's been done, I think, 24 times, maybe more than that. I might be getting mixed up. I read Ravelry, I read patterns before I go to bed. I look at stuff, and then the other one I have that I'd like to get done is the Rhoda cowl, and this is by, I can't remember the name of the brioche cowl, the Rhoda, and it's by Mercedes Tarosevich Clark, and it's really fun. I've never knit brioche, and I just love those colors. Didn't get those colors, but I just love the way that looked, and I love that there's a dog in the picture. I've had another podcast in the past, which I haven't really been that religious about, and I never really started anything with it. I never really garnered any audience, and it's called Knit Dog. And I have 3 dogs, which you may hear about in this podcast here and there, or they may make their presence known. So I have an affinity for dogs. And the other one that's up and coming for me is this sweater by Bonnie Sennett, or Blue Peninsula. And I have some alpaca bamboo that I'm going to try and do that out of. You can see that beautiful detail on the right. So there's a couple things to choose from there. And I think a couple of those things will be quick. I also have a pattern for my husband coming up, but he just got an Icelandic sweater in October, and he wants a new pair of half mitts, and he wants another pair of socks. And so there's a lot of opportunity there for him. So that's kind of what I've been thinking about putting on the needles after I finish that sweater. And just kind of quick little bits and pieces in between another sweater project, I think. Acquisitions for me. I've had a few I'm going to include in this, but this is over the past couple months. The first one is Nash Island Starcraft Mill. This yarn is going to be hopefully featured in Fiber Trek, and you'll learn a little bit more about that coming up. And this is the Osier colorway. I plan on knitting Sun, Moon, and Stars, which is a Wool People pattern, not up and coming, but I do plan to do it, so I bought the yarn. This yarn is 100% Maine Island lamb's wool, and I have a strong affinity for this yarn and this mill, and part of that is because I have an affinity for island sheep, and have acquired quite a bit of island wool. This flock of sheep was started around 1916 by a lighthouse keeper and his family. Eventually, the flock was taken over by his daughter and remained on the island even after they moved off the island. And it's a Coopsworth Romney crossbred group. And when this woman passed on in 2004, she bequeathed the care of the flock to I have the notes here, Alfred and Eleni Wakeman, and they continue to take care of this flock. It's not a real, I think island sheep and island sheep farming is very different, and then maybe perhaps some of the larger ranches, or I'm sorry, smaller flocks that happen here in New England. My time spent on large sheep operation in Scotland also had an island flock, and two island flocks actually, one of which was managed by the laird. And even their sheep are not housed at all, period. No housing. And the same with this group is rounded up a variety of times of year, just like some of the other open operations, for foot trimming and treatment for worms and or clostridial diseases, their vaccinations, and then lambing and shearing. So they do exist on both grasses and seaweed, and the rounding up, the shearing, etc., does bring in some volunteers and public, and as well as the owner and operator of this mill. She has two weights. This is the fog, which is the lace fingering, and it comes in 16 colors, and that's 210 yards for 50 grams. She also has a Nash Island Light, which is a light worsted or DK, and that's 175 yards per 100 grams, and that is also in 16 colors. So I would highly recommend checking her out. You can order right online, and you'll hopefully get a little bit more insight into this whole operation, and I'll talk about that with FiberTrack. I'm going to include this in my acquisitions because I don't have a spinning segment this week. I am spinning, but I didn't grab my the bobbin, and I'm having a little bit of a moment with my spinning, and I'm just trying to get motivated about it. So I'm combing a fleece I bought at the Fiber Frolic this past June. It's a Corriedale Shetland fleece. I bought combs, and I'm just playing around with the concept of worsted spun top and preparing my own top, and that's what this is. And I have 5 Icelandic fleeces, raw fleeces, sitting in my shed in buckets, and my sheep are currently growing more fleeces to be shorn. Granted, I won't use the winter fleece. More than likely, I'll just compost that, and I typically just use their summer fleeces. So my Icelandics are shorn twice a year. This is the product of a finished Icelandic fleece. This is from my sheep. Who was my sheep? This is Sassy. It's a 3-ply gray, and I got about 60 yards, and this was just to get it off the bobbin so I could continue to spin the Shetland Corriedale. So I can use this as an accent in something. I'm also a member of the Bare Naked Knit Spot Club, or Bare Naked Wools Club, and it's an awesome club. I love it. She kind of speaks to the heart of FiberTrack and sources her yarns from very interesting and unique farms and mills and blends, and nothing is dyed. It all comes in the natural colors. This happens to be a Romney merino blend yarn. It's 220 yards per 115 grams. It's a 2-ply, and it's 60% merino and 40% Romney. And this is what I plan to do the Mikado cowl out of. And that's showing up a bit browner than it actually is. It's more gray. And you could probably see a lot of gray. I have been better about buying color, but can be really hard for me. Um, the other one I did is I grabbed this is the same dyer and the same yarn that the Rhoda brioche cowl was done in. And I just loved the sheen of that so much. It's a Polworth silk, probably similar to the Marin base. This is Knitted Wit. She's out of Portland, Oregon. You can find her right on Etsy. And I bought two skeins to do that cowl. And one is in salted caramel. And that's pretty true. And the other one is in Black Forest, and that is way blue. It's more green. I don't know if I can make that happen for you. There are various shades within that. It's more of a tealy green. So not true at all, but they still look good together on the camera. So that's going to be the Rhoda Brioche. This is, I think, 330 yards. Yep, 4 ounces, 330 yards, 85% Polworth, 50% silk, salted caramel, and Black Forest. Really excited about that. The last one, the last yarn acquisition I got is really exciting. I cannot wait to work with it. It's just such a special yarn. And like the Starcroft, this is another yarn, our fiber experience that gets to the heart of the Fiber Trek program. This is Upton Yarns. She's out of Newcastle, Maine, and she does all of her dyeing in natural dyes. I've been corresponding with Sarah, who is the owner and operator of the company. She leads a very interesting life. And I think that her commitment to time or slow fiber, if you will, is kind of reflected in that, in the path she's chosen. So I've really enjoyed my correspondence with her, and I'm learning a lot, and I'm hoping also, I'm part of a retreat that will be happening in October at the New England Outdoor Center with Fibrisa Files, and I'm hoping she's going to be one of our vendors. So I have to start saving my money because her stuff is gorgeous. So I picked up her Cotswold Romney. She sources from New England farms and backyard farms, but right now all of her yarn is from two main farms, and I have them written down. One is Buckwheat Blossom Farm, which is a horse-powered biodynamic farm located in Midcoast, Maine, as is she, and that is a Coopsworth yarn. Coopsworth is another one of my favorite yarns. It's similar to Romney. Long wool, lustrous wool, crunchy, really silky and luxurious. That's how I would describe it. Then she has a Cotswold Romney, which comes from Liberty Wools, again in a mid-coast farm in Maine. And getting the best, again, both long wools. And I picked up her 3-ply fingering weight. And let's see, this is a madder root. It's 105 yards, 25 grams. Suggested needle size is 0 to 2. And my color is much darker. It's probably more like that than the top. And I'm in love with this. I don't know what's up with the long wools. There's that face again. It's the face. It's the what's going on face. Again, we've got the Coopsworth Romney. We've got the Romney Merino Icelandic, Cotswold, and Coopsworth. Cotswold Romney. And then I picked up 2 of the natural. And the reason I did that is because I'm planning to knit a Spilly Jane mitten pattern with this. And so I just needed a 2-color. Gorgeous yarns. Love them. And can't wait. And I love, I don't love a ton of veggie matter or VM in my yarn, but I love a little bit just to let me know that, hey, I did live on in the outside world. So there's a little VM in this, makes it all that much sweeter, and I love it. Sarah has some gorgeous yarns in gorgeous colorways with weld and indigo. This was madder. She just has, her yarns are just gorgeous. I'm hoping to give her some gray yarns to do some over dyeing and the Icelandic wools. I'm a big over dyed gray kind of gal. So that's it for acquisitions. I don't know. My birthday is coming up, so there may be a plethora of, or an abundance, both of yarns to take a look at next time we speak. I did want to say that Sarah's yarns, you can find them linked in the show notes, and it's Upton Yarns. Currently, her 3-ply and 5-ply are all coops worth, and there's a sport with 120 yards per 50 grams, and there's a Gansey, which is a 5-ply, 90 yards per 50 grams. So if you're looking for a Gansey wool, a Gansey yarn to knit a Gansey sweater, I would highly recommend taking a look at her selection. She has them both in natural colors and then the natural dyed. Let's see what else. I picked up this book. This is my little book review, but more of an alert. It's called Pure Wool. I know, that's me. And it's by Sue Blacker. And I picked this up because I've been stalking her website. She is the owner and operator of Blacker Yarns and Blacker Mill in Wales. And they have all conservation breed and single breed yarns. Moment of silence, because I cannot stop looking at that website. Most of her yarns are originating in the British Isles, Wales, Scotland, England. And she also has a line of Falkland and Falkland blends that come from the Falklands. If you're not sure where that is, that's located off the coast of South America, a place that I would love to fiber trek to. And she put out this book, and it has a lot of really good information on the breed, like, for example, Blue-Faced Leicester yarns, and then she has a pattern and how to use them. Manx Lockton is included in here, Jacob is included in here, Herdwick, which I'm really glad because I wanted to work with Herdwick. I love the Herdwick history of, I can't remember if it's called felling or, can't remember the word now. They always return to the same place where they're lambs, so they really don't need fences. You can learn a lot about these breeds both in Deb Robeson's Hand Spinning Rare Breeds and also her Fleece and Fiber Source book, which I also own. But I picked this up because I really love the Blacker Mill commitment, and I wanted to learn a little bit more about possibilities for patterns for some of these wools. Ryland, and I'm like just getting chills talking about picking them up. So you may be like, well, why don't you pick some of them up and give them a try? Located in Britain, the shipping can be a little bit exhausting and to the bank account. And so I plan to head to Orkney this summer, and I can't wait. And I'm going to have them all shipped to the island. So it'll be national shipping versus international shipping. I'm also going to pick up some John Arbonne yarns and have them sent there. And I have been listening to and following Knit British and be taking a couple cues from her recommendations and dyers and maybe having them sent up there. But mostly I'm in the market for breed specific yarns versus indie dyers. So really excited about that. So that's called Pure Wool, and it's a guide to using single breed yarns. And I haven't read every single page in it yet, but I've looked through it. I read the Herdwick piece, and maybe that vocabulary word, which is so much fun. Heffing. They hef. How much fun is that? I would love to use that every day, that word, but there's no reason to unless I'm talking to you and about Herdwick sheep. But spreading the good word. Perhaps I should just make sure I tell one person one time a day about Herdwick sheep and heffing. Then I can really fly the geek flag high. So we're close to 30 minutes right now. I'm going to talk about Fiber Trek, and then hopefully I will be able to get this cut and edited, not quite to Tyler's standards, but enough to make you happy, and then it has some flow. So Fiber Trek, if you're just joining us and you're not familiar, is a lifelong dream. I think it probably has been. Um, it's a dream of mine that I've been able to partner with a very close friend who's a videographer. And what it seeks to do is really connect the textile world to the mainstream out there, and as well as fiber enthusiasts. So I've been a part of the food movement for a long time. And I guess that could sound a little bit not so pretty, but I've been a part of working towards local foods and sustainable type venues. And I just really would love to pick up that application and that kind of momentum. And the sun is breaking through and reflecting off the snow. And applying some of those same concepts to fiber and textiles. And I taught a lot about that when I worked on the farm in my past life as the director of education with kids about what they're wearing and where it comes from. And I've been standing on my soapbox for wool for a long time. So I decided that Fiber Trek would be an opportunity to show people the landscape, the culture, farming, the process, and also throw out some gorgeous yarn candy at the same time. So we're working on that, and we have started here in Maine because that's where we originate from, and we're very lucky because the fiber community here is very rich. So we put together our buzz reel. You'll probably see that listed here. And Tyler and I are working on a few more shoots. We have other footage that we're going to put together. You'll see that coming up, and he's working on that as we speak. We're calling them shorts right now, and it's an amalgamation of footage that we've taken over the past couple of years. New footage that we plan to grab this spring include Meadowcroft Fiber Mill, and Janny and I are also talking about heading out to the island for shearing in the end of May. That all becomes weather specific because you've got to get the boat out. So we're hoping we can grab that, and our schedules are free and kind of whim it up, but that will be, we'll be hitting the mill in April, and then the shearing will be in May. The other group we're working with is Meadowcroft Farm and Sea Colors, and that's Nanny Kennedy. She has a line of yarns that is dyed, solar dyed in seawater, and I've knit one sweater and I have one skein upstairs, and it's gorgeous stuff. We'll be visiting her farm for dyeing and for lambing, so that'll be extraordinary. If you have ever been a part of a lambing operation or have had the opportunity to spend the night in a lambing barn or on the lambing hill, then you can certainly join me for that great, amazing, wonderful kind of, I don't think, this moment isn't the right word, but I can never quite describe my time on the lambing hill in Scotland or lambing when I used to run a flock of 40 Icelandics at the little farm with the farm manager. And I love lambing time, and it's just a great, wonderful, amazing time. And that's just so corny and sappy, but I guess that's what it is. So we've got Meadowcroft and Nanny. We're talking with them and hoping to put together shoots. And we're also in just chatting with Mary Jane Mucklestone, who's an amazing designer, amazing color work, Fair Isle designer who has lived in Maine. She's such a gem to have here, and she's so personable, enthusiastic, and has answered my emails like a random woman emailing me. So that's been really exciting. And I hope to make something work with her because I think she adds so much depth to what we're doing here in this state, and also within the community itself. So those are kind of the updates that we're working on and we hope to have out there. It's a little bit of a slow process. We both work full time, and we have to coordinate schedules. And while I have 3 dogs, which can be exceptionally a ball and chain, experience, Tyler has a little one, and of course that is just a growing, evolving, unfolding, amazing experience. And we've got to just work both of those in. So stick with us. You can find us on Facebook, Instagram, Ravelry, and Twitter, as well as here on the blog, and I will link all of that in the show notes. It's 34 minutes, and I hope you enjoyed your time with us. I say us because there's 3 dogs in the room, and I like to include us and we because Tyler does this too. And I look forward to seeing you next time. Thanks so much. Happy trekking.